Food is the basis for life. We all need to consume it every day, and so we as humans have become very creative with the ways we prepare it.
However, this myriad of food choices makes it confusing to understand how to determine health benefits. In the modern world, there are countless discussions about health and nutrition, and people hear lots of contrasting information about food every day. Influencers like to create a sense of fear around food, telling people ingredients like sugar are toxic and advertising fad diets like carnivore and keto, which advocate for cutting out entire food groups that include sugars. Most of these claims are unsubstantiated, but it can be difficult to understand why.
As someone who has studied biology and works in medicine, I have seen the importance of nutritional literacy firsthand.
Chronic diseases caused by nutritional deficits and excesses are the #1 cause of death in America. A failure to understand how modern food affects us has real, critical consequences on our health.
I have seen people hospitalized with diabetes who still have no understanding of how their body absorbs sugar and try to memorize lists of acceptable foods to eat. This method is limiting and will lead to confusion over new foods. The best way to approach nutrition is by understanding the basics of how your body absorbs different types of food and applying those principles to different types of food you consume.
Calories are units of energy. Specifically, a calorie is equivalent to the amount of energy it takes to raise 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. The amount of weight on your body is determined by your energy consumption and output. The first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be destroyed or created. Therefore, energy gained that is not used is stored. In the case of human energy, energy is stored as adipose tissue, commonly called fat. In order to lose weight, a calorie deficit is necessary. This does not mean it is healthy to consume vastly less calories than the amount you use each day, as your body would eventually start to degrade necessary tissue for energy. However, in order to maintain a healthy weight, it is necessary to make sure you are not consuming more calories than you are using each day. In order to do this and not suffer from bouts of hunger, it is important to choose where you are getting your calories from wisely.
If all calories are the same amount of energy, then why are calories from food not necessarily equivalent? Well, this has to do with the amount of work that must be done to break down the different types. There are 4 different primary biological macromolecules, the first of which you've probably heard of, carbohydrates.
However, carbs are scientifically different from how they are normally portrayed. People think of carbs as things like bread and bagels, but really, carbs are present in anything that you eat. Yes, bread has lots of carbs, but so does any plant. A carbohydrate is a ringed molecule made up of carbons, each hydrated with 1 hydrogen proton or hydroxyl group. This structure is very important because its chemical properties make it the base reactant for energy production in the body.
A single carbohydrate ring is called a monomer sugar, the most common of which is glucose, which forms the refined sugar that we often eat.
A chain of glucose molecules linked together becomes a starch.
Glucose is the only molecule that can give your body energy. Even if you're not eating carb foods, your body is breaking those foods down into glucose in order to start a process called cellular respiration.
Your body breaks down the bonds in the carbon rings and creates byproducts which carry electrons. These electron carriers move back and forth across the mitochondrial wall to create an energy gradient. This is the same way a battery works. The movement of electrons across a barrier generate an electrochemical difference, which can be used as potential energy. This potential energy is used to sever a molecule called adenosine triphosphate. One of those 3 phosphate groups is broken off and free energy is released by the bonds the free phosphate can make. ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is the unit of cellular energy in the body. All the chemical reactions in the body are powered by this reaction that yields energy rather than absorbing it. To put it more simply, sugar is what gives your body energy. This is why, when large amounts of sugar are consumed, people will feel high energy and experience a sugar rush. This is also why sweet things taste good. Our brains are developed to positively respond to the presence of sugar to let our body know that we will gain energy.
So, if sugar is necessary for us, why are sweet things considered junk food? Well, this is because, as mentioned earlier, carbohydrates are present in everything we eat. However, they may be present in different forms.
The glucose molecules may be linked in longer chains and are embedded within other molecules. When this is the case, the body must perform more work to release the glucose. While the same amount of energy is obtained from the glucose in refined sugar and a piece of broccoli, 32 ATP, the amount of energy used to digest the refined sugar is 2 ATP, where the amount in broccoli could be higher at 4 to 8.
This means the net reaction of consuming broccoli yields less ATP. Why would less energy be a good thing, though? Because as mentioned in the first law of thermodynamics, in order to lose weight, the energy consumed must be less than the energy used. When larger amounts of refined sugar are eaten, the max amount of ATP processed at a time is reached very quickly, and then the excess cannot be utilized and is transferred into adipose tissue. If you eat a food with glucose more embedded, however,
like high fiber foods, the bonds cannot be broken so easily, and the extra time taken to break the food down slows the rate of catabolism
and allows your body to continuously extract the glucose for energy, rather than having all the metabolic enzymes in use and having to convert that excess glucose to fat. Furthermore, this process helps diminish hunger. The body produces ghrelin,
a hormone that signals for hunger when the stomach and intestines are empty.
Refined sugar and other processed foods that are served in more broken down states without natural fibers are completely metabolized by the digestive tract very quickly, and soon the hunger hormone is produced again even though plenty of energy has been gained. Foods rich in fiber or protein slow down the digestive process with far more bonds to break, and they stay in the intestines for longer,
causing the body to signal for a hormone called leptin, telling the brain you are full. This makes it less likely for a person to overeat, as they feel satiated for longer periods throughout the day. This is one of the reasons why nutrition labels differentiate between total sugars in a product and the added sugars. The natural sugars in a product will be processed more slowly and cause less of a blood sugar spike. The hormones insulin and glucagon work together in regulating a person's blood sugar levels. When a person's blood sugar is too high, the pancreas secretes more insulin. When their blood sugar levels drop, the pancreas releases glucagon to raise them. Insulin attaches to insulin receptors on the cells throughout the body, instructing them to open and grant entry to glucose, moving glucose out of the blood and into the cells. A spike in insulin signals the liver that a person's blood glucose level is also high, causing the liver to absorb glucose and change it into its stored form, glycogen. When blood sugar levels drop, glucagon instructs the liver to convert glycogen back to glucose, causing a person's blood sugar levels to return to normal.
A person's blood sugar level varies throughout the day, but insulin and glucagon keep them within a healthy range overall. When excessive amounts of sugar are consumed over a long period of time, the efficacy of insulin begins to wear down, and a person may develop insulin resistance, which leads to type 2 diabetes mellitus as well as chronic high blood sugar. The science of nutrition can seem dizzying to study, and so influencers often capitalize on confusion in order to sell people on their diets or their products. It is important to be wary of claims that label foods or food groups as toxic, especially those that do not provide detailed scientific descriptions to back them up. As can be seen from the mechanisms discussed in this video, sugar is by no means a toxic substance. Rather, it is crucially important to your body. However, depending on the type of food you are eating and the presence of natural fibers and proteins, sugar is energetically absorbed differently, leading to differing effects on your body. Highly processed added sugars should be consumed in moderation, as they have higher net caloric yields and wear down the efficacy of your insulin pathways. Carbohydrates and sugars are still needed by your body. As long as one engages in moderation, there is no need to feel guilty for indulging in the many delights of modern food.